Okay, good morning. Good morning. It has been an interesting start to the day. So I've already made a winning trade. So apologies for that. I'll go through it shortly once anyone that wants to join the stream has joined in. But yeah, good start. But I'll wait a minute before we go through any of that. So this morning looks different to the rest of the week so far. So we're not in a gap up situation. We're actually below yesterday's closing price. So potentially a bit of a different trading morning on our hands. So we've been in a very, very steep uptrend here, as you can see, since midnight on Monday. And what's happened in these last couple of hours has been quite interesting. We've just swept underneath this hourly low from yesterday and have picked up a whole load of liquidity. Quite interesting. Anyway, well, I'm going to go through the trade that I've already made because I think, Grandad, I can see you're here. So let's get into it. So I've already made a trade this morning, following my strategy to a T. My volume-based system now is not so much time-based system, as it does not require the same level of volatility that my breakout strategy involves. So it was a winning trade, a good trade, about £600. So I'm just shy of 2% up now on the account. Let me just change screens so I can go through the trade. Okay. So we had a big move. Actually, no, it's hard to see on this screen. I'm going to go back to the other one. So you can see the tiny little arrows here, that's my entry, that tiny little diamond or triangle, and this was my exit down here. It was a short trade, but yeah, I'll go back to the other screen because then you can see the key levels. So try to ignore what's actually happening at the present moment. So we had a big move down overnight, way below the value area low, right down to 25,000. The market was extremely cheap, if you like, for a time. And then we really made a recovery. And then this is where I came on at about sort of 10 to 7 or something. And I got really interested when the market started to push back towards the previous day close, which is the PDC there. It felt like the market was massively overextended, coming back up towards the value area high. So I entered short up here near the value area high and the previous day close. My ultimate target was the value area low. But I knew as we were in the pre-market, there was no guarantee we'd actually hit it. So I took profit over 3 levels right down around here. So it was a really solid trade. Yeah, it was a really solid trade. I don't really have time to talk much more about it right now because the market has opened and it's moving. So we've just come down and tagged the Asian session value area low. And now we've run all the way up to the value area high. I just need to change this a little bit. Get rid of that. Right, and now I've changed my settings a little bit with the whole value area, the volume profile thing. It's better now, actually. Extend right. Cool. Okay. So it's quite a busy chart this morning because there's quite a lot going on, quite a lot happening. So I'm just gonna get rid of that for a minute. So overnight, we've got value area high here, value area low here, point of control here. Market's pushing higher as we speak, but I don't want to trade immediately off the open. So we're just going to relax. So my trade this morning so far was a short trade from the value area high down towards the value area low. The market now off the open has done the area low to the value area high. Now you could take that trade, but off the open, the market moves so fast, so violently that I wouldn't consider it, at least not currently, because my brain just can't process that information fast enough. I think you'd need to be trading on like a 10-second time frame rather than 2 minutes is just too big. So yeah, that's what the market's done so far. It's sort of cleared out a lot of people, with the potential now to either move higher to new all-time highs, which we're only 20 points away from, or we're just coming back up to the value area high again just to sell back off. But yeah, there's some real volatility coming overnight. CNBC was saying a lot of it's to do with the Greenland situation and the Venezuela situation. But I don't really care about that. I just look at what the chart says. But there is definitely some interesting volatility going. Okay. So looking what the market's saying right now, it's looking extremely bullish. We're coming up right to all-time highs as we speak. We've got a potential breakout retest here to the long side. See what we get here. Let's see if the market can break out. When we get a bit of a quiet moment, I want to just go through what happened yesterday after we stopped streaming. I made the right choice to stop streaming because there was no good setup until about 10:30, and even then it wasn't an amazing setup, but it was one I'd have probably taken had it happened earlier in the day. So I'll show you that in a bit. So this is the chart without all the drawings. Hourly chart makes it quite clear. Steep uptrend. We've hit a bit of a wall yesterday afternoon. Sold off in the Asian session. Picked up a load of liquidity, and now we're big time testing the highs again. I've now got a volume profile which tracks the current price. So it's a developing profile, which is really nice. Really nice to have that. And what we will be looking for later in the session is confluence or only prevailing session and the Asian session. Because that's essentially what I had in my trade this morning, was confluence between the Asian session and the US session, and their respective volume profiles. The more confluence we can have, the more confident we are about the trade. God, the market's really trying to go. Okay, that is a new all-time high. So we're going to let it go, and hopefully it does go. And then we'll look for some sort of retest of this crucial level here. And we would then trade a long position off a successful retest. I think you've probably seen enough of my trading now to understand why I haven't just bought on this initial breakout, because we see how often that fails quite quickly. So again, being at all-time highs makes it a bit tricky to really manage risk effectively. because we have no clear profit target. It's funny, the market's up nearly 200 points in the last 2 hours, but I've made money short selling. It's kind of funny that. Okay, so we move up here in the DAX. And we are just going to very, very patiently wait for our retracement. Another factor that adds to the importance of this breakout level here is the fact that this was the value area high yesterday in the US session. So I'm really, really keen to see what happens when we come back down here. For now, you can sort of ignore this developing profile. And that doesn't really become important until about half an hour into the market. There's just not enough volume yet for this to actually mean anything. From about 8:30, we'll start to take note of what this volume profile is saying. So we had our first 2-minute candle. Buyers have come in immediately below. Super, super strong market this morning. So yesterday, when the market moved up quickly off the open, it failed very, very fast. Don't know if you remember, we had the first 10-minute candle was super duper bullish, and then it went red, boom, and that was it. And then we were stuck in a range where this morning we're in, and so far the market's been up. So yesterday we had a 10-minute candle like this first one we've had this morning, and then it was just back down. Today we've had follow through, which is good for us because it's a stronger market today. Higher probability that we're actually going to get to make a trade. So price has just slowed down here. As you can see by this wick on the 5-minute chart. It's closed near highs, closed near highs, closed near highs, then not closing near highs. So we'll see if this is where we get our retest or not. Okay, well, it's coming. It is coming. Looking at this 10-minute chart on the left. Interesting to see what happens if we do make a prior bar low here. I think you would expect buyers to come in because you've got VWAP, you've got prior bar low, you've got this overnight range high, you've got the US session value area high. It's all sort of converging at the same moment, the same price. The concern, as it was yesterday, was getting in too soon. Yesterday, our patient approach saved us multiple losses. I don't plan on forgetting that. So I think for me to make a trade, I need to see a strong close on the 2-minute chart, which could be this candle. We'll see. Yeah, so that's why I didn't buy too soon. I want to see the candle close at the highs, ideally above the high of the previous candle. So if this green candle were to have closed above the high here, it would be called an engulfing candle, which is where you start below and you finish above, or you start above and you finish below. And that's generally a real sign of strength in one direction or the other. But a candle like this, where it's moves up to the high but is then sold back down, isn't a good buy signal. So we've got our session value area low, slightly lower down here. Okay, so buyers again coming in there. Okay, if this candle closes highs up here, I will be looking to enter very soon on a classic break and retest. Okay, nothing just yet. Okay, I'm not in this trade. I'm not in this trade. I did enter, but then I've closed it for about 30 quid profit. The problem is the risk reward. I stand to lose more than I'm likely to make. So I'm just gonna, in a minute, switch screens and show you why I was not happy with that one. So I ended up here, which is just, and my entry was literally, it wasn't a great entry at all. My entry was only 13 points from the high, and my stop loss was 31 points. So I stood to lose almost 3 times more than I stood to make, because this high of day would be my initial profit target. Now I understand the market has broken higher. But I stood to lose about £700 to make about £200, which is not worth it. Is not worth it. So I understand that, yes, if I held it, I would have made, well, I might, if I'd have taken profit here, I would have made money. If not, it's coming right back down to break even. But it was that was not a trade I wanted to take. Well, it's not a trade I wanted to stay in. But I guess we made 30 quid, so better than nothing. Better than nothing. And that does officially take us over the 2% mark on the account. which is nice. Yes, I'm just not sure about this. I think it's because we're at all-time highs. You know, if we had some sort of high around, like, I don't know, 250 or something, like a previous high to target, I'd feel a lot better. It's just, I'm very concerned about just having the rug pulled out from underneath me. You know, because this trading challenge, all that matters is passing it. That is literally all that matters. And I have no concerns over just missing some trades in order to make sure I am super duper confident when I do take them. When I made this trade in the pre-market, I was so confident that this was a high. Oh, hang on, you're not looking at my screen. 1 minute. I was so confident this was a high here, so I entered short. And then I had, throughout the entire run, I was completely comfortable. I was in profit within about 90 seconds. And I just felt, you know, my stop loss was just above. You know, so I had a 17-point stop loss with an ultimate profit target of about 40 points, about 35 points. You know, so it's a 2-to-1 profit target. And I was able to get out for better than 1-to-1 very easily. And that's the sort of trade that I want. I want it to be easy and obvious. But this price action here is the opposite of easy. So if we get another test of these lows and we get a better risk reward setup happen, then I'm absolutely all for taking another trade. It's not a case of I don't want to trade again today, but I want to win. I want to win. So for me to enter, I've got to feel real confident that I am going to win. So now we've made these highs up here at 225. If we do get another retracement, you know, then we have, and if we can get in somewhere down here, then we do have a very good risk reward. But I feel like that isn't going to set up anytime soon. This is a good time to go through yesterday, because the sort of trade I'm talking about is a trade that set up yesterday mid-morning. So let's go through that now. Right. So this is yesterday now, and you'll remember this sideways, where there was nothing to do. Well, there was stuff to do. There was money to lose. So there was this breakout, this false breakout here, which I was so tempted by this, didn't take it. There was this potential short down here, which is what I took and lost on Tuesday, didn't take it. And I stopped streaming somewhere in this mess here. But then at 10 o'clock or 5 past 10, the market did break out. So this is all hindsight. So the market broke out. So you can see that we had this very clear trading range. Beautifully clear, actually. Very clear breakout. And then you have this very clear retest down here. And a long position anywhere around here would be a good trade, because you're risking maybe 15 points, 15, 20 at the absolute most. And you're targeting the highs of the session, you know, so you're targeting 35 points, risking 15 to 20. So it's around a 2-to-1. Obviously, you wouldn't have quite got there, but you'd have taken half profits at some point, and that would have been a really nice trade. So this is the sort of trade I'm looking for this morning, where we can get, you know, sort of at least a 1.5 to 1 risk reward. And if we don't have that, then I just don't take it, especially below a 1 to 1, which is what the trade was this morning. So back to today, if we had taken that trade, if we'd have stayed in this trade, we'd now be hovering around break even. So yeah, now it might be a case that the market's just going to slowly grind higher today, and if it's slowly grinding higher with no meaningful retracements, it makes it tough to get a good risk reward. And if that's the case, then this is just not a good day to trade. It's funny because today the best action for me really was when I traded earlier this morning. So again, you've got this on the 1 minute chart, possible breakout retest here of this key level. But then if you've entered here, which is where you'd enter above this 1 minute candle, again, you stand to make 15 points and you stand to lose 15 points. So it's 1 to 1 at the absolute best case scenario. And very rarely does the best case scenario actually play out. So yeah, we need a better retracement to do anything. Maybe we'll get it here, maybe. Okay, I have a feeling this could be a slightly prolonged session, so I'm going to go and get a drink. I've set an alert down here if the price comes back down here, and I've got notifications on my phone, so if it does, I will quickly run back. But if not, I'll be back in 5 minutes or so. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So for me, the situation is best described through this 5-minute chart, where there's not much of a pattern going on. You know, this sort of price action is very tricky to trade, because it's not giving you much in terms of key levels to actually trade off. There's plenty of up moves, plenty of down moves, but not a whole lot of order to it. So I'm just going to use a handy this a minute. Right. So my entry long was here. My target is the high of day, which is here, which is 13.8 points. My stop loss was here, 31.2. So this is the problem. This is why I didn't take this trade. So you'll see the red area is what I stood to lose. The green area is what I stood to make. That is a losing system over time. Over time, I will lose. Now, if there was hang on, get rid of it. If there was an entry down here, which there wasn't one available, but if there had been, then I would have stood to have lost 15 points, and I would have stood to have made 26. Now that, along with all the other reasons for our entry, that would be a winning system. Most likely, over time, that would be a winning system. So if we go back to this morning, the trade that I did take entered here. So I stood to lose 16 points because my stop loss was just above the previous day close. And my target was, where was my target? Oh, it was the value area low. Yeah, it was the value area low. My target was, my target was here. So that was a 2.16 risk reward opportunity. Now I ended up getting out down here. So it ended up being like a 1.5, but that's still a good trade. So that's the difference between the trade I took this morning and the trade that I took but then closed for break even. And that's why. And the fact that the market did end up going up here is entirely irrelevant for my system, completely irrelevant. Now we are potentially now getting a slightly more meaningful retracement. Now the level we ultimately want to see is this US session value area high, which is the same as the overnight range high. So that's ultimately the level we want to test. Now, if the market just bounces off the current session value area low, then I'm not interested, because again, I would then be buying into the middle of the range. You know, I want to be able to get in down here. I've got all this room for profit. So let's just say the market does come down here and I'm able to get an entry here. Let's say my stop loss would be just below the value area low. So I'd stand to lose 20 points and my target would be the value area high, which would be 40 points, 2 to 1. So that's the sort of setup that we want. If we can't get it, then we can't get it. Now, there's another thing on the chart called a fair value gap. I'll briefly explain what that is. So when you have a very strong move up here, there's something called a fair value gap, which is the gap in price between what was a previous high, which would be here, and a new low, which would be here. So our fair value gap would be this range here. And this is an area where there's essentially very little volume because the market has just zoomed through it and then has not come back to retest it. Now, some people trade purely based off of this idea. But if you draw a profile of the session, you'll see that there is almost no volume in this price area at all, meaning there's a lot of orders that weren't filled, most likely. So some people would want to see this fair value gap filled back down here before entering into a long position, or they may be in a short position with a target at the bottom of the fair value gap. Now, I don't make any trading decisions based off of that, but I'm just, I know about it through self-education. And you can see it here, even in the overnight, so the overnight profile, no volume here. So you've got a load of volume up here where we are now, which you can see in this profile. You've got a load of volume down here, which is where I traded this morning. And then you've got this sort of 30 to 40 point gap where there's just, nothing's happened here. Absolutely nothing's happened here. So some people would say there's a high probability that we're going to enter this area. Now, we may literally just wick down, a load of orders could be filled, and then we zoom up, so we may only spend a few seconds in here. But it's an area to be aware of. So I think the ultimate trade today would be a move down into this fair value gap, a strong push out, and then a long position targeting the previous highs. That's the A plus dream trade. Yeah. Now the question is, how long do you want to wait? So I think what I'm probably inclined to do today would be to set a price alert for if the price comes into this area here. So set a notification here. And then if the market comes down, we come back to the charts and we have a look. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it a few more minutes, and then that's going to be what I do. So at some point this morning, if this does come down here, I will, and I'm available, I'll be having a look. But if it doesn't happen in the next 5 minutes, then it won't be happening on stream. So we're currently overall on the account. Actually, I can show you this. Let me show you this. It's quite good actually. So this is my FTMO account. You can see all sorts of stuff on here. To be honest, you can see all sorts of stuff. So we've got a nice little graph of our all-time P&L, all-time being since Monday. Got a consistency score here, which will, doesn't mean anything yet because I've hardly made any trades. But once, we've got a month or so, then that'll be interesting. So it's the consistency of your trading results. That's all that is. So I'm not sure how useful that is or not. You've got sort of calendar view of my daily P&L. My closed trades. So when I go on after this to log my trades into my trade tracker, which I'll also show you. So after I've ended the stream, I'll go on here and enter in all my stats from the trades. I haven't actually looked at this. So again, I think all this stuff will be quite useful once I've made a high volume of trades. Yeah, it's quite good. It's quite good. There's plenty of information available, which I have to do no work for. You know, I could get all this stuff, but it would take a lot of work. Right, I'm going to end the stream in a moment. So just to finish it off, show you the 15-minute chart and basically show you what's going on. So we've had a big fat move up, and that seems to have just eaten up all the liquidity that there was in the market, and now we're going sideways. So the only thing we're interested in is if the market can come back into this area and pick up the orders that were not filled in this, what would be called a fair value gap. And I've got an alert set at this level below this prior bar low, which will go straight onto my phone if we do cross that price. So ending the morning, I think £600 up, I want to say. Yeah, £600 up for the day. So it's nice. Right, thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow. Shame that my two best trades so far have happened off the stream, but that's just, I guess, how it goes. My strategy is no longer super duper time sensitive, but the great trades will come at some point.